Okay, so new day, new video, I guess. We're going with that anyways. So what it's time to do is get started on the MR2 here behind me. Something I know absolutely nothing about, but we're gonna figure it all out together. I have never done anything as far as performance mods to an MR2, and I'm actually not keeping the SW20 turbo engine that's in it. This is an NA car, but that was done by a previous owner. And I don't know anything about Toyota engines, but I want to learn them. So I'm going to take it out, tear it all down, find out what exactly went wrong with this thing, and then we're going to K-swap it, because I don't want no Toyota engine. I'm a Honda guy. We're going to do a Honda engine in this thing. I have a heavily modified block that I bought with this. We're not using that. We're going to go with something a little more factory, because that engine is torn down to a bare block. I want to get this thing up and running with something that I know runs well before I put it in the car, and then we'll swap over to the more modified engine after I know that the chassis is set up to run just a K-Series engine by itself. Now, the person I bought this car from the second time has actually started removing the engine, which, if you don't know anything about an engine, the best thing to do is choose one that hasn't been messed with. But that's not what I'm doing here. This is what I've been dealt, so this is what I'm dealing with. But I have done a lot of research to find out what I need to do in order to remove this engine, and it looks like he maybe had watched the same videos, because a lot of the same stuff is done. It does look like I need to remove the AC compressor from down there, the line anyways. You probably can't see, but the computer is actually still in this with the wiring harness running through the rear trunk area, so I know I need to remove that as well. The fuse box here has been unplugged, and the wiring harness has been kind of pushed over on top of the engine, which is also what you do on Hondas, wouldn't you know it. Looks like there's a coolant line right here that needs to be removed. The motor mount's down there, but looks like a fuel line right here that needs to be removed. All these coolant lines here have actually been removed. Some of these go all the way to the front of the car, I know. They're removed off of the firewall. The heater core, they've been removed. All of the intake stuff that's on top here, it's been removed. So it looks like the majority of the work needs to be done underneath the car, actually. So I need to get this thing up on jack stands and see what I'm working with underneath there. Got the car up on the jack stands and the ramps in the front, because from what I was seeing, people working on these things, they always had the front on ramps. So I did that, and I see why, because you got to be able to get the back end so far up in the air that it would pull off the front bumper. Also got the wheels off. I know I got to take a bunch of stuff off down here, so I'm going to get up underneath here and take off this arm here, that arm back there, and this arm underneath, because the subframe comes all the way out. You also have to take off the sway bar end link here. I've seen some people take this whole hub assembly stuff off here. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and take this nut off and pull the axle out the back and just leave this sitting on there. Now, I do think that I'm going to do some longer studs, because I noticed on the wheels there was very little stud actually coming through on the side. I don't want to have any problems with that, because I do plan to do some spirited driving with this car. It's not just a show car. I want to make sure I have plenty of stud to keep the wheel on. The thing about buying somebody else's project, I got the exhaust out. You probably can't see very much up underneath here, but it freed up a bunch of room to work underneath here. Let me see if I can grab the flashlight. Freed up a bunch of room up underneath here to work. I got the exhaust out, and 3 of those bolts were 14s and 1 of them was 17, which is always a great surprise when you're working on something. Also, the way the exhaust bolts up is with these mounts here, and there was 2 bolts up underneath that, with basically just bolts stuck in there like that for it to hang on, with no nut on this side. So I don't know what was going on there, but anyway, sometimes it makes it easier to get out. Sometimes people can really make it more difficult. Okay, so it's been a few days since the last time I worked on this, I think I have it most of the way ready to come out. There might be a few things through the top that I need to work on, but mainly I gotta work on moving some of this stuff out of the way, because I'm used to taking things out through the top of vehicles, not through the bottom of them. And I'm also used to working on front engine stuff, so you can just basically have the engine hoist in front of the car. With this particular car, I'm gonna have to have it on the side because in my garage, I don't have enough space to have it in the back. Also, there's a trunk on this car, which makes it kind of difficult to use the engine hoist from directly behind the car. So we're gonna go in through the side, let the engine down on the ground, and then lift the entire chassis up so I can scoot the engine out from underneath the car. But in order to do that, I have to move all of this stuff out of the way. These boxes here is what the S2000 parts actually came in. So those can go. The engine that I have over here, this TSX engine that I bought a while back, which might honestly make its way into this car here. I'm gonna go ahead and move that, I guess, somewhere back there, somewhere out of the way, so I can use my engine hoist that's right there on the side of the car and do all the work. The logistics of this, I'm just gonna have to kind of figure out on the fly here, but it's definitely a pain in the ass, man. It's definitely way more of a pain in the ass than it is to just do a front engine car, but I think the payoff is gonna be worth it anyway, and I'll feel way more motivated for this car once I get the engine out of it. I really need to get the engine out of it so I can keep my motivation up to work on the car. The other annoying thing is that you take the subframe out from underneath the vehicle, which makes it hard to have any of your suspension components down here. So the car is just kind of on jack stands until you get the engine out. Unlike a Civic or something, you can just kind of throw those suspension parts up underneath there and roll the vehicle outside and have your space back. You can't have your space back, so I got like some things I need to get out of the attic up there that I can't get because the car is just stationary here on this jack. I'm gonna have to maybe put the subframe back up in there, bolt everything up, and then move the car out, which is just a lot of work rather than just bolting on a couple lower control arms that I would normally do on a Civic and then just moving it out. If we look here though, the temperature out in the garage is slightly over 45 degrees. Outside, it's a brisk 30, so there's not a lot of things that I can do outside the garage right now, and in the foreseeable future, as far as the weather goes, it doesn't even look like it gets much better. Okay, so got all this area over here cleaned out so I can get the engine hoist over here, I think. I'm hoping anyways. And I've got this thing pretty much ready to come out. It's moving pretty freely. I have the ECU plugs all undone, pushed through the hole there. Everything over here is undone as far as the wiring harness that goes to the engine. There was a few plugs that were in here that I had to get undone as well. Kind of worked my way around the side of the engine. All this stuff is loose. Looks like maybe I still have a fuel line possibly right there that I need to get, but everything else looks like it's all done. Working my way up underneath the car here, I did get the clutch master cylinder undone. It's kind of draining into a bowl here. This is for a wideband sensor. I got that unplugged. There's some shifter cables that I got undone, as well as the clips that go to hold it onto the bracket. Those are taken off also. I'm thinking I'm pretty much there, all except for that one fuel line that I'll get, and it's right here. First impressions of working on the MR2 is inconvenient. For a vertically challenged individual like myself, working on this thing comfortably is a challenge. It seems like I'm always reaching over something or having to stand on something to get to what I need to reach. Probably not an issue for someone taller than myself, which is most, if I'm being honest. Alright, so I got the old hoist set up here, and I'll show you kind of where I'm at. This is what I'm gonna try first, and I got the chain pretty much lengthened out as far as it'll go because I'm going down. And I want there to be enough chain to lower it to the ground, even with the jack stands underneath the side of the car. That's the reasoning for the long chain. But Toyota is nice. They give you some hooks here to use your hoist on both sides. All I really think I have left is the motor mounts, one over here and one over there, and the engine should be free to lower down. And the idea is to lower it down onto one of these rollers right here, and then I can just roll it out from underneath the car. But I'm gonna have to pick the whole chassis up, so I'll have to shorten that chain down quite a bit so I can get it up without the hoist hitting the ceiling. Okay, so it's been a few days since the last clip. I ran into a small roadblock here. It is kind of preventing me from finishing the project easily anyway. So down here you have motor mount bolts that are kind of diagonal that come out from underneath the vehicle. One of these motor mount bolts, the one that's still in there, if you can see, yeah, right there, is rounded off and I can't get it out. So normally, if it was an easier bolt to get to, I would just grind the head off and everything would be fine. But since it's not an easy bolt to get to, what I'm gonna have to do is, I just got this one from Harbor Freight with reviews that are average at best. So we're gonna find out if this thing works. I have this down here for like lug nuts that get rounded off and things like that, but I didn't have anything small enough because it's actually a 14 millimeter. So I'm gonna take this out of the package and we're gonna find out together if the Quinn bolt extractor set is worth it or not. Now the idea of this is basically like you just screw it on and on the head of the bolt, and it kind of is reverse thread, I guess, and locks itself down on top of the rounded off bolt head, and then you can just screw it out like normal. I've heard some things like it rounded this thing off instead of the bolt. I've heard some things like this thing completely broke in half. I've heard different reviews for this particular piece that makes me doubt whether this is gonna work. And the kit is $30, so if it doesn't work, you're kind of out a lot of money. I mean, it's not a cheap kit at all. But I'm hopeful that it's gonna get the job done. Getting the camera underneath there to show you guys is gonna be kind of difficult, so I'm just gonna do it and see if it works. If it does, we'll know that this kit is okay to use. Now, I've also heard that this is good for one use. Like, it works the first time, but then they can never get it to work after that. Like, it kind of rounds it off. But these are lifetime warranties, so if it only works one time and you take it back and get a new one, I guess that's an option. Okay, so good news, actually. It did work. It did get the bolt out, but it's like one of the few bolts that are holding in that side. So I don't want to take it out and it'll drop on me. I can't find anywhere that you need to take bolts out up here, but I did find a couple spots. If you play up underneath there and look straight up where the mount is, there's two 14 millimeters that I actually removed and the engine moved. So I think I'm free of all mounts now. So now I'm going to try to lower this down and just see if the engine comes down. We're gonna go really slow because I don't know if there's anything still hooked up or not. I'm confident that I got everything, but first, I'm a first timer, so we're gonna find out. Okay, so after letting down all the tension on this, I still seem to have something either hooked up over here or it's just hung up. But I don't know. Let me investigate and I'll get back to you on that. Okay, so where I think I'm hung up is, if we look down by that pulley, there's actually a cross member that runs this way with the vehicle, and it keeps, I guess, rigidity for the car. But I think that pulley is resting up against that and not allowing this to go down any. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and see what that does for us. So this piece right here is what I was talking about. There's actually one on each side, but it looks like only the passenger side is getting in the way. So we're gonna try it again. All right, well that was interesting at best. I ended up taking off that whole mount on the passenger side that well, it's this thing, but only over there. I took that off and then it pretty much just dropped right out. In fact, it dropped out while it wasn't on the engine hoist, just right straight down through the bottom. So, I mean, it's out of there. I don't think I broke anything, so, but we'll find out anyway. So now I gotta get this chassis up in the air so I can drag the engine out from underneath it, which kind of sucks because now it's not on rollers. All right, so Tony came over to help me get the engine out from underneath the car, and we got the car way up in the air, and we're just gonna drag it out from underneath there. Ideally, this would be on a roller, right?
Yeah, like a car dolly or something.
Yeah.
Like that guy right there.
Yeah, the one I took out to actually put underneath it, but then the engine fell out of the engine bay, so here's where we're at.
Yeah. No, there's nothing to grab on this side.
Maybe we turn it and then we'll both pull on one side of it.
Yeah, which side looks easier to pull on? Maybe it's just stuck on that flex pipe. Cause it's like... Nope.
Oh God, you got kicked. You guys got kicked.
Oh, it's a Judy kick.
Let's find an angle for you guys here.
Sorry, I kicked everybody.
Yeah.
Real hard. So,
There it is. No, this engine is really heavy. We're gonna be replacing it with a much lighter engine, which, let's go ahead and throw up on the screen what the engine weight differences are between a K24 and a SW20 engine. I'll promise you it's high.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Big difference.
This thing is a beast. All right, so we got it out. I'm calling that the video right there.
Yep.
Yep.
Good.
All right, so we'll be back again. More MR2 content. Tony's got S2000 content coming. You know, for all the 7 people of you guys that watch that.
All 7.
All right. All right, guys. See you next time.